My husband wanted a divorce because I couldn't do chores while hospitalized. He didn't know about my $10 million inheritance. I'm Nicole Wallace, a 47-year-old woman whose life recently took an unexpected turn. For 22 years, I was married to James, my college sweetheart. We were two small-town kids who made our way to Florida, full of dreams and aspirations. In those early days, our love story felt like something out of a movie. I loved cooking, and James loved eating. I'd whip up elaborate meals with fresh vegetables and rice sent from my family's farm, and he'd devour them with gusto. Everyone said I'd captured his heart through his stomach, and I believed it. But beneath the surface of our culinary romance, cracks were beginning to form. James, charming and charismatic in college, gradually revealed a less appealing side. He was utterly incapable of handling even the simplest household chore. At first, it was almost endearing, his boyish helplessness. I, ever the nurturing one, took on all the domestic responsibilities, happily creating a comfortable home for us. As the years passed, however, his inability to contribute domestically morphed into a sense of entitlement. He'd lounge on the sofa after work, expecting a perfectly cooked meal and a clean house, while I toiled away, unseen and unappreciated. The compliments dwindled, replaced by criticisms and a constant barrage of, "Whose money do you think we're living on?" He never physically hurt me, but his words were like tiny daggers, chipping away at my self-worth. His professional life was equally unstable. He'd land a decent job only to quit after a short period, citing some perceived injustice or boredom. Our finances were a constant source of stress, a tightrope walk between making ends meet and falling into debt. Each time he quit, I'd silently absorb the anxiety, plastering on a smile and offering words of encouragement, while secretly dreading the next round of job applications and budget cuts. Then, a glimmer of hope, a phone call from my mother that would change everything. She informed me about a $10 million inheritance, a windfall from the sale of family land. The money was in my name, a strategic move by my mother, who had never been fond of James's controlling nature. This unexpected fortune felt like a lifeline, a chance to finally break free from the gilded cage of my marriage. But before I could even process the implications of this life-altering news, fate intervened. A car accident landed me in the hospital, thankfully with non-life-threatening injuries but requiring a week of hospitalization. I called James, expecting concern, but his first response was, "What about my meals?" His selfishness, even in the face of my accident, solidified my decision to keep the inheritance a secret, at least for now. It was in that sterile hospital room, hooked up to machines and feeling incredibly vulnerable, that James delivered his final blow. He swaggered in, accompanied by a young woman named Patricia, his mistress. He sneered at my helpless state and demanded a divorce, expecting me to hand over my non-existent assets. It was a scene straight out of a bad soap opera, but the pain was real. I played along, handing him the divorce papers I'd kept tucked away, a silent act of defiance. His smugness was almost comical. He thought he was winning, escaping a burdensome wife and starting a new life with his young lover. He had no idea what was coming. The following days were a whirlwind of phone calls, legal maneuvering, and shocking revelations. James, enraged that the divorce wasn't progressing as he'd planned, became increasingly desperate. He tried to access my bank accounts, ranting about unpaid housework and demanding compensation. His entitlement knew no bounds. Then came the bombshell. My dear friend Julia revealed that Patricia was her niece. The world felt incredibly small and strangely interconnected. Julia, furious at her niece's behavior, became my staunch ally, providing photographic evidence of Patricia's infidelity and joining me in confronting the deceitful duo. The confrontation was a masterpiece of karmic retribution. Patricia's fabricated pregnancy, a desperate attempt to secure James's commitment, crumbled under the weight of Julia's evidence. James, realizing he'd been played, turned pale and pathetic. He tried to backpedal, begging for forgiveness and a second chance, conveniently forgetting his earlier cruelty. With the divorce finalized and a substantial settlement secured from both James and Patricia, Thanks to Julia's unwavering support, I embarked on a new chapter. I donated half of my inheritance to the local women's shelter, a decision that would bring unexpected joy and fulfillment into my life. The remaining money provided a comfortable cushion for my new life in the countryside, far from the memories of my toxic marriage. Julia joined me in this rural escape. We pooled our resources, bought a charming house surrounded by rolling hills and lush gardens, and launched our dream business, Baskets of Bliss. Our gourmet picnic baskets, filled with locally sourced ingredients and lovingly prepared dishes, became a local sensation. We poured our hearts and souls into our venture, finding joy and purpose in our shared passion for food and creating memorable experiences for others. The women's shelter, touched by my generous donation, reached out. I began volunteering, teaching cooking classes to the residents, sharing my culinary expertise and finding inspiration in their stories of resilience. It was a beautiful exchange, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and connection can flourish. Life in the countryside was a balm to my soul. The fresh air, the quiet nights, the gentle rhythm of nature. It was a world away from the constant tension and drama of my previous life. Julia and I built a deep and meaningful friendship, supporting each other through the ups and downs of starting a business and navigating the complexities of life. Our days were filled with purpose. We experimented with new recipes, sourced the freshest produce from local farmers markets, and meticulously crafted each picnic basket, ensuring every detail was perfect. We laughed, we cried, we celebrated our successes, and we comforted each other during moments of doubt. We were a team, a family, bound by a shared vision and a deep respect for one another. The chance encounter with James at the grocery store was a stark reminder of how far I'd come. He looked haggard and defeated, a shadow of the arrogant man who had once dismissed my contributions and belittled my worth. His attempt at reconciliation was met with polite but firm resistance. There was no going back. I had moved on, and my new life was far too precious to be tainted by the ghosts of the past. My journey had been a difficult one, filled with heartache and betrayal, but it had also been a journey of self-discovery, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. I had learned the importance of self-worth, the power of friendship, and the transformative potential of pursuing one's passions. The $10 million inheritance, once a symbol of escape, became a tool for empowerment, a way to build a life filled with purpose and meaning. Baskets of Bliss wasn't just a business. It was a reflection of my newfound freedom, a testament to my creativity and passion. The cooking classes at the women's shelter weren't just volunteer work. They were a source of deep connection and a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can find strength and support in one another. Looking out at the rolling hills from my kitchen window, I felt a sense of gratitude wash over me. I had found my happy ending, not in the arms of a Prince Charming, but in the company of a true friend, in the joy of pursuing my passions, and in the quiet satisfaction of living a life authentically my own. The future stretched before me, full of possibilities, and I embraced it with open arms. I was Nicole Wallace, a 47-year-old woman, no longer defined by my past but empowered by my present and excited for the adventures yet to come. And as the sun set over the countryside, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I knew with absolute certainty that the best was yet to be. Update. As I mentioned, Julia and I are thriving in the countryside. Our gourmet picnic basket business, Baskets of Bliss, is booming. We've expanded our menu to include vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options, and we even offer customized baskets for special occasions. We've gotten some amazing local press, and we're booked solid for the next few months. We're even thinking about opening a small cafe in town. Update 2. Things just keep getting better. Remember how I said I donated half of my inheritance? Well, it turns out the charity I chose supports a local women's shelter. They contacted me recently to thank me personally, and I ended up volunteering to teach cooking classes at the shelter. It's been so rewarding. I'm sharing my love of cooking with these amazing women, and they're teaching me so much about resilience and strength. I've even developed some new recipes based on their suggestions. It's funny how life works out sometimes. I never would have imagined that James's awful behavior would lead me to such a fulfilling experience. And, just a little bit of juicy gossip, I ran into James at the grocery store the other day. He looked absolutely miserable. He's still working those construction jobs, and he's lost a ton of weight. He tried to apologize and asked if we could talk. I politely declined. Some things are better left in the past. I wished him well and walked away, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. Karma, baby.